I'm an introvert. This is something that has made me feel inadequate many times in my life, both my personal life and my professional life. It wasn't until I read this book, Quiet by Susan Cain, that my idea of being an introvert completely changed. And I realized that us introverts, we have some powerful qualities that can really help us both in our work life and in our private life as well. So in this video, I'm going to share some of my key takeaways from this book that will help you identify whether you are an introvert or not, understand that being an introvert isn't a disadvantage, and help you understand how you can be successful in leadership and in your career when you are an introvert. So if you are an introvert, this video and this book might just change the way you see yourself, just as it did for me. To determine whether it's worth you watching the rest of this video, I think we first need to establish whether you are an introvert or not. The author of this book, Susan Cain, explains that introverts generally relate to these qualities. You prefer one-on-one conversations than group conversations. You enjoy time alone. You don't like small talk but prefer in-depth conversations. You prefer to work alone on one thing at a time. You're exhausted after interacting with lots of people. You listen and think before speaking. You dislike conflict. The more qualities you relate to, the more introverted you may be. Be aware that you will generally fall somewhere on the spectrum between introversion and extroversion, because the level of introversion or extroversion that you feel will be dependent on your personal experiences, your personality traits, and also, in my opinion, the situation you're in and the people you're with. Meaning you might display more qualities of introversion in some situations and with some people, and in other situations you might display more qualities of extroversion. For example, for me, I know when I'm in a new situation, when I am with somebody who is perhaps challenging or difficult to be with, I tend to fall more on the introversion side. Whereas when I'm with people I'm very relaxed around, I tend to be more extroverted. So there's generally no clear-cut line. People can display qualities of both introversion and extroversion depending on a number of variables. Now that you've identified whether you are an introvert, let's look at why being an introvert is not a disadvantage. And there are specifically 3 reasons why. The first one is introverts are good at creativity. The way introverts like to work is we like to work alone. We like to work in a quiet place with no distraction or very little distraction. I know for me, I am the most productive when I am in my office and there's nobody else around, mostly because I don't have the stress that somebody's going to come up and talk to me and distract me from what I'm doing. Now, the interesting thing I read in this book is that creativity requires 2 things: solitude and intense concentration. This is fantastic because solitude, the first element, is the perfect working style for introverts. And for the second element, intense concentration, psychologist Anders Ericsson found that intense solitary work drives extraordinary achievement, and that extraordinary achievement is due to deliberate practice which can only be undertaken alone. This is great news for introverts. Because of our preferred work style, that we prefer to work alone, we are primed and ready for creativity, for everything that it takes to be creative: solitude and intense concentration, which means we are in the best position to be creative, perhaps even better than extroverts who do tend to prefer to work in environments that are more chaotic or noisier, with more distraction going around. The second reason why being an introvert is not a disadvantage is because introverts are good at complex problem solving. The main reasoning behind this is because introverts are known to be persistent. We approach problems in a patient way, we think through things before taking action, we digest all of the information gathered, we stay on tasks longer, we give up less easily, and we work more accurately. When you think of this in relation to complex problem solving, these are all the things that are required to be successful in complex problem solving. Complex problems are just that, they're complex. Therefore, they need more time and energy put toward them to solve them. Extroverts generally aren't good at this because they don't have the patience, and they don't stop and think and look about the problem before they try to solve it. Quite often, they just jump in without having all of the information. So this reason should give you more confidence the next time you go for a job interview that requires complex problem solving skill. Which leads us into the third reason why being an introvert is not a disadvantage, and that is introverts are better at avoiding avoiding disaster because we read warning signs much earlier and we pay attention to them, whereas extroverts generally ignore these warning signs, and that can lead them to make rash decisions. Susan Cain in this book explains that extroverts are reward seeking, which means that they push through despite the warning signs. They ignore the warning signs and they keep going, which often leads them to making mistakes. So we've talked about the advantages of being an introvert. I hope that has made you feel less bad about being an introvert. Now I'd like to move the discussion to how you can succeed in leadership and in life as an introvert. But first, if you are curious about this book and you're not sure whether you want to read the whole book or invest in it, then I recommend a service called Shortform. Shortform is a fantastic way to read in-depth book guides. They're basically like book guides on steroids. I actually used Shortform to revisit this book, Quiet. I read this book first back in 2012, so that was a number of years ago. And in order to make this video for you about this book, Quiet, I needed to remember what the key points were. So I actually used Shortform to remind myself what these key points were about from this book. So it's really helpful not only to work out what books you do want to read, but also to remember or go back over the books that you have already read a number of years ago. Now, on top of the book guides that you get on Shortform, they also have practical exercises that you can complete at the end of every chapter of the book guide that you read. And this is a fantastic way to really reinforce what you have learned throughout the book guide, and it's also a great way to apply what you learn as well. Plus, one of the other things that I love about Shortform's book guides is that they add in their own notes and their own references to help you advance your learning. So they not only provide the value from the actual book, but they add on to that and they provide extra value for you so you can check out other resources, you can check out other books or other book guides on Shortform that will help to advance your learning for whatever particular topic you are learning in the guide. You can get 5 days unlimited access to Shortform plus a 20% discount on the annual subscription by joining through my special link, which you should see on the screen here, shortform.com/Kara Ronan. I will also put it in the description below so you can click on it and head over straight to Shortform. This is an affiliate link, which means I do get a commission if you join Shortform through that link, but Shortform is not a sponsor of this video. I am telling you about them because I genuinely use Shortform. I genuinely like to use Shortform to help me with my learning and also to choose what books to read. Currently, I'm reading this book guide, How to Take Smart Notes, which I'm finding very insightful and very helpful. It's really helping me to decide whether I actually want to invest and buy that particular book. So that's it for Shortform. Let's get back to the content. How you can succeed in leadership when you are an introvert. You can succeed in leadership and in life when you are an introvert. Bill Gates, Steve Wozniak, Lou Gerstner of IBM, Brenda Barnes, who was the CEO of Sara Lee, these people are all introverts and they are all successful leaders. So you can be an introvert and you can still be a successful leader. I think there's a bit of a misconception about leadership that you need to be an extrovert in order to be a leader. So I hope this part of the video helps you understand that that is not true. Jim Collins, the author of Good to Great, who studied high performing leaders, found that the best CEOs were known for a combination of humility and determination rather than charisma. So you don't have to be as exuberant as Tony Robbins is to be a successful leader. You can be an introvert and you can be a successful leader. Here's how. Understand your preference levels for stimulation. So introverts don't work well in noisy, chaotic group situations. There is too much going on. There's too many people vying for talking space. It's very hard to focus. It's very hard to concentrate. When you understand this, you can find the level of stimulation that works best for you and the environment that works best for you and tailor it to suit your specific needs. For example, at work, if you are not comfortable giving impromptu speeches on the spot, ask your boss to give you notice the next time they require you to give a presentation at work. This will give you the time to prepare, which will help you feel a lot more comfortable and a lot more confident in giving that presentation. In a social context, if you get exhausted by going to parties or large group events, then invite 1 to 2 friends to go out to lunch with you. This will give you a chance to have an in-depth discussion with those people and form a good connection with them. On top of that, Susan Cain recommends to create restorative niches. So what this means is you go to a quiet place on your own to take time out to relax and to just be yourself. Sometimes at work or even in your social life, you'll be required to be in group situations like networking events, like parties or conferences. Introverts can find these types of environments really exhausting. So if that sounds like you, eventually at some stage during the event, you will need to take time out to rest and to recharge your batteries. The reason introverts find these situations exhausting is generally because we are acting out of character. We're trying to fit in the group situation. We're trying to be loud when we're not usually loud. We're trying to talk a lot when we generally don't talk that much. So these kinds of situations can be very exhausting for introverts. I can absolutely relate to this. Maybe you can too. So that is why Susan Cain recommends to take restorative niches. So these are breaks, if you like, time out during the event or after the event to rest, to be yourself, to be by yourself, to regain your energy and to recharge your batteries as well. Some tips on where you can go, how you can do this. So if you are at an event, at a conference, for example, you could simply go to the bathroom and just take a few minutes by yourself alone in the bathroom. You can also take a walk or you can do some yoga or meditation. All of these things will help you to regain your energy and to recharge your batteries as well. The last tip to succeed as an introvert in leadership is to tailor your interactions to suit your needs. So at work, I suggest small group meetings or one-on-one meetings instead of large group meetings. Reduce the amount of meetings that you have per week or use email or phone where you can. And in your social life, try to negotiate with your partner to have more relaxing time at home. Reduce the amount you go out socially in large groups and invite a small number of friends over for a dinner party instead of going out. Once you understand the triggers that you have as an introvert, it is much easier for you to tailor your environment so that it suits your needs. Obviously, I highly recommend this book, Quiet by Susan Cain. It is full of a lot of information and insights into being an introvert and how to succeed and navigate life as an introvert. So you will definitely get a lot from this book if you decide to read it. But if you are not sure whether you want to go ahead and read the book or not, then definitely check out short form as well. It's really a great way to help you decide whether a book is worth your time reading. If you do want to take a look at short form, then definitely check out the link that is at the bottom of this video and also in the description below. So that link will give you 5 days unlimited access to short form plus a 20% discount on the annual subscription if you use that link. And if you want some book recommendations from me that will help you in your leadership journey, then check out this video here where I talk about books that will help you build charisma, mindset, and influence, which are 3 really important areas for leadership. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.